Welcome, everyone, to the third podcast of Maine Cannabis with Merideth and AnnMarie. I'm Merideth.
And I'm AnnMarie. And we want to start this one off with a big thank you. A thank you to everyone who has listened to us on places like Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and those of you who have watched us on YouTube. The early response has been great, really great. Our audience continues to grow every day.
We really appreciate that so many of you have contacted us at hello@vettedmaine.com with your suggestions for interview topics as well as Maine-based artists that you'd like to see featured on the podcast. Keep the suggestions coming.
Definitely. Many of you have also asked Meredith and I to talk more about our personal journeys, about opening Vetted here in Sanford, Maine, and we'll be doing that later in the podcast.
So first, we just want to say thank you to everyone again for your continued support of the program. Please tell your friends to tune in.
Come on.
We are committed to explore the world of cannabis, but not just here in Maine, but nationwide, as the industry continues to grow.
So, on that note, let's get right into the podcast.
As our good friends at Medco, the healing community, continue to grow their business, starting with their 2 dispensaries in Lewiston and now expanding into the towns of Newry and Gardner, we're lucky that co-owner Alex McMahon still has the time to sit down with us.
And as a testament to Medco's growth, they ran a full-page ad in the combined January-February issue of High Times magazine, the foremost publication devoted to all things cannabis.
Alex explains how Medco took this major step onto the national scene and the path his constantly growing company is on in 2021 and beyond. So take it away, Alex.
So my name's Alex McMahon. I'm one of the founding partners and the operating manager for the healing community Medco. I actually moved up here to Maine about 5 years ago from Charleston, South Carolina. I spent the first portion of my career down there in the hospitality business, and Maine was calling to me. It was actually calling to me for a few years before I even moved up here. So I'd say Maine was calling to me for about 8 years now. I had a friend that did some growing down there, and we were going to plan on coming up here, get a grow off of the ground. That all ended up spiraling out of control. So I ended up coming up here and he didn't, which is cool. So I started just trying to kind of find my own way. I didn't have any money when I came up here. So first things first, I got a new restaurant job, and then started to try to feel out and find who the best caregivers in the area were. Linked up with Joe Couture, who's one of the partners at Medco now. And initially it was just me bugging him to trim. I was like, hey man, let me trim for you. Let me trim for you. Let me trim for you. Finally, one day he snapped and he let me trim for him. And then from there it was trimming. And then I started working in his grow and then sort of started working more intensely in his grow. And then him and I teamed up on a big outdoor grow. And around the harvest time of the outdoor grow, we launched the delivery company. And I ran that for a while. That got to a pretty high grossing state. And then, of course, the Maine legislature changed the rules. There was a little bit of a loophole that we and a few other people were using at the time. Maine closed that loophole. And at that point, while a bunch of companies kept going, we closed, which was tough to do because we're doing probably 10K a day in revenue at that delivery company. But we want to be doing business here for a long time, for decades. And so if the rules change, hey, we got to play by the rules. So we closed down the delivery company. There was a few months in between where we were doing the build out of the store. So everything kind of timed out pretty well, just the universe being on our side a little bit, I guess. And when we got close to opening Medco, we started talking about what the actual structure was going to be. By that point, Joey Johnson had moved up. He's from Atlanta, Georgia, but him and I met in Charleston. He was one of the most well-known chefs in the area. He worked as executive chef for a few big restaurants there. Some that have been on the Food Channel and are pretty highly renowned. His career leading up to Medco was essentially him getting poached because he kept making a really good name for himself. And so people kept wanting him to work for him. And so he went through that for a while, getting poached from restaurant to restaurant to restaurant. He did a startup for Bill Murray's one and only restaurant down in Charleston. From there, shortly after they opened, with Joey as the executive chef, he got poached by Google. So Google has a branch down in Charleston. He got poached by Google to run their food program as the executive chef. Worked there for 5 years, and he loved it. It was great. He had a lot of responsibility. He was really cooking 5-star breakfasts, lunch, and dinners for these Googlies, as they call themselves, Monday through Friday. But Joey has always been a cannabis enthusiast, and so he had the opportunity to work with food and with cannabis. And for him, like for a lot of us, it's a dream come true. So he moved up here to head up our edibles program. And then we teamed up with Keith and Terry also. So at the start of Medco, there was the 4 of us. We really came from kind of different backgrounds and different areas of expertise. So Joey being the edibles magician, I have a lot of hospitality background, which we do take a little bit of a different approach to cannabis. We take the hospitality approach. Hospitality is the foundation of our company. Really, cannabis is hospitality. We're providing comfort to people. That's what hospitality is. That's what restaurants do. That's what hotels do. That's what cannabis does. And so, part of that is not just supplying the product, it's supplying the experience of the overall customer experience. We have a lot of regulars at our 40 Elizabeth Street store and at our 741 Main Street store that come in. As soon as they walk in the door, we greet them by name. We know their email addresses for tracking their rewards points. And people really, I think, appreciate that. Who doesn't like to walk into a place and say, hey, how's it going, John? So we built the company on that foundation of hospitality. And so, Joey and I, strong hospitality background. Terry and Joe, Terry's Keith's wife, they have a strong growing background. Joe has been cultivating for like forever. He truly puts out some phenomenal product. Now, the thing is, when we get his product into the store, it flies off the shelves. So really keep an eye out for anything that Joe grew. Fast forward a little bit. We had a couple of people that were with us from the beginning, Jacob and Rob. Jacob on the retail end of things, Rob on the grow end of things. They have since come on as partners as well. There's a lot of people that like to go it alone. We like building a strong team. It's all about the team that we're building. We feel we have a strong ownership team. We've been building out the staff as well. We have close to 50 people on staff right now, which just feels mind-boggling. But with the ownership team, it's a good half of us are strong retail operating partners. The other half of us are strong cultivation operating partners. So really, it's a perfect fit. They hold down cultivation, we hold down retail. It works well. We're able to make decisions very well together. I think part of our diversity on our ownership team, as well as our management team, as well as our staff, leads to more ideas, more perspectives, more different perspectives leads to more ideas. And so we've tried to cultivate a lot of perspectives on our team, but also a lot of different backgrounds, because we're doing things essentially, and we say this to staff all the time, we're doing things the best way we know how to do them at this time. And so that doesn't mean that we consider it the best way to do things, period. It's the best way we've figured out how to do things so far. So all of our staff knows that we are open to input always. We actually receive awesome ideas from people on every level of our staff on a regular basis. And, we implement them. We value everybody in our team. Our team is phenomenal. Everybody has awesome ideas. And so we use them all. We're really, with 6 owners, that's kind of a lot of owners. And then 50 staff, that's a lot of staff too. But really, it's I think what it takes for us to be lifting off. We call this our moonshot. Our goal is to get to the moon. And hey, you know what they say: if we don't reach the moon, we'll end up in the stars. That's cool with us.
So welcome to Chris AnnMarie. He's the co-owner of Nova Analytics Labs of Portland, Maine. And Chris, we're hoping you can tell us a little bit about yourself personally and about your company.
Yeah, great. Thank you for having us here. So myself, I come from a background in various laboratories, testing pharmaceutical, toxicology, forensics types of analyses. And myself and my business partners saw this opportunity to take what we know about these highly regulated and quality-focused laboratories and bring that into the cannabis space and try to make a difference, advance the science that's been really illegal for so long.
Yes.
Learn about new products, learn about new chemicals, and put analyses out there that really enable you guys to do business better and efficiently.
Yes, and that's great to know because patient quality and safety is so important. Tell us more.
Yeah, so we definitely are a quality first group. That's what brought myself and the founders together. One of the things that, there's so much to learn. I actually started about 2 years ago now, enrolled in Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia, their first really ever cannabis master's degree program.
Really? Is that the medical school?
It's related to their medical school.
Wow.
I think technically their health profession school. So they officially do now have the program offering masters in medicinal cannabis and business.
Wow.
So it's brought me experience and really exposure to some of the most up-to-date and newest research that's being done right now.
Because that's difficult to find, contemporary science and research relative to cannabis because it's federally illegal in the U.S.
Yeah, you just said it so much better than me, but yes, absolutely. It really is, and they're, of course, not only understanding the plan itself, but understanding how it actually has medical benefits and what are those outcomes and how can we start to get federal legality around it based on that data.
Right. So human studies and the effects on humans is so important. So Chris, you'll one day soon, you're telling me within the next year or so, you'll have a master's degree in cannabis studies. That's amazing, and probably the first person that I am familiar with. So we'll be leaning on you in the future as somewhat of a subject matter expert, Chris. So that's great to hear.
Thanks.
Tell us more about Nova. So you have a lab, it's in Portland, and I believe you're the second licensed lab for adult use cannabis testing site. Is that correct?
That is, yes.
Wow. And so what about the industry in the state of Maine as far as having how many labs, if there's only 2 in the state, how is that going to impact those of us that are trying to get our product tested? What's the impact of having only 2 sites?
Yeah, so a lab bottleneck is something that people ask about and we talk about a lot. And so there are 2 licensed adult use testing labs. And then there are some others in the works, and there's a few, maybe 2 more testing for medical. We are, I think, right now, maybe the largest lab and offering the most wide variety of analytical tests. But other labs will get up to that speed, and I believe there will end up being a bottleneck as adult use does ramp up. Right now, we're not seeing that because the adult use market has been slow to take off for various reasons. But we're prepared to handle that capacity. And one of the things that we like to be more partners with our clients, and we work with them to understand their workflow, their operations, and tailor our capacity to meet their needs. And, we will work with clients that, or we enjoy working with clients that can provide that kind of insight and enable us to help them better. We don't like to be that fee for service model. We want to be more value.
Gotcha. So customer service and customer understanding seems to be one of your priorities. That's fantastic. Now, Chris, for those in the audience that don't know, testing cannabis occurs on the adult use side. It's required by law. And the cannabinoids are tested as well as some yeast and mold standards. But terpenes are not required. And the medicinal cannabis, it's not required by law as yet, although there's an 80-page draft rules that are underway, and so it's forthcoming. There's no doubt about it. Can you talk about, so we're testing for yeast and mold, and what about it? Why do we test it, and what's the threshold to test?
Right, so there are limits, action limits that we call as what's been determined to be potentially harmful to individuals that consume it. Molds can be especially dangerous when inhaling them. They take residence and potentially start an infection. Particularly concerned for the medical side, because often these are maybe already sick people, immunocompromised individuals, and that could take residence easier. A lot of these regulations and limits and rules, we're still learning on what's appropriate. I feel like the Maine rulemaking process did do a fairly decent job of looking at what other states have done, looking at the data that's out there, and putting something together that is patient and consumer safety focused.
Yeah, I see. So I am aware that the western side of our country has been the launching site for cannabis use, and they did establish some regulatory benchmarks. For example, the yeast mold, the 10,000 colony forming units is what we use as the threshold for yeast and mold. And it is true. You're speaking about like aspergillus. There's a fungus that can land in the lung, and tell me more about the cannabinoids and terpenes now. If we get away from just the yeast and mold, there are other things you test for in cannabis.
Yeah, so there are only so let's start with cannabinoids. There are only a few that are actually required, and those relate to the potency. THC, CBD, CBDA, THCA. But we know of over 100 cannabinoids, and we test for 19 of the major cannabinoids that have some impact and have studies. Yeah, exactly. And what that allows us to do, and so as I said, we're focused on quality, and there often is this idea that the highest number is the best for your product. But I would argue that the right number is the best number for your product.
Nicely put.
And what we do to ensure that in our lab, at least, is to run analytical technologies that can really define and separate and definitively identify the cannabinoid and remove any interferences that these matrices, the plants, the products, that they're dirty and they can have an inflammatory effect on the readout.
Exaggerate the readings?
Exactly. So it can inflate it a little bit if you stack everything up and allow those interferences to be added to the actual, say, cannabinoid.
So accuracy too. So customer service and accuracy, that's great. How about timeline? If we would have testing done, how long would we expect a sample to get to your lab and have cannabinoids, terpenes, yeast and mold performed? What's the timeline for such a thing?
So if you get the sample to our lab in the morning, we put those on for that day and we report out within 3 days.
Wow, 3 days. That's fantastic.
Yes.
And what's the cost, would you say? Ballpark
Costs, if you wanted to do a full, complete suite of every single test that we offer, it's around the $700 mark. But for the test that, say for the phase 1 required test, that is around $300.
Okay. And so if I were to do a yeast mold, terpenes, and cannabinoids on one sample, I was thinking it was even going to be less.
Yes, it would. So if you did potency, terpenes,
and cannabinoids. So biologics, cannabinoids, and terpenes. Is it about 110, 115? I think
it would be about 200.
200, fantastic. So 3 days, $200. We'll have accuracy, and we'll have biochemists are those that are staffing your organization. Is that true?
Analytical chemists.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Microbiologist, analytical chemist. I myself was originally trained as a biochemist, but all those, they all overlap in some way.
And is it fair to say there's a credentialing body, state lab credentialing body of which you all achieved, whatever that is?
Yeah, so we had to undergo inspection by the Maine CDC and ISO is what we're working on.
And how often is your lab reviewed?
Every year.
Annually. Fantastic. Chris, is there anything else you'd like to share to a grower or a small business owner of cannabis in regards to lab testing or NOVA?
I would just say that, we're here to learn with you, and, giving us that opportunity will improve our product and your experience as well. We find, and we know that there's, I think, a lot of misconceptions around lab testing and it being just because it's a requirement. There's a lot of utility in what we do. We're developing tests that aren't in the realm of required tests, so we already have potency. We're also working on a test, plant tissue analysis test, that will allow cultivators to monitor the health of their grow and potentially act on adjusting nutrient levels before they show any disease state.
I see. So let me see if I understand this correctly. So tissue sampling, that you may become a body to do that type of testing as well, could tell the grower if there is a nutrient deficiency or excess, magnesium or chloride. It's coming from the nutrients or coming from the soil or coming from elsewhere. But you'd help to decide with the grower what actions to take next to better that plant.
Exactly.
Oh, that's amazing. And do you forecast that expertise in your lab will be achieved this year, next year?
Within the next few months, I think we will have the ability to test, and it will be a really learning process and probably per client type of establishing what levels work the best.
Wow.
That's exciting research.
That's unbelievably exciting. Well, Chris, you have lots to be proud of. Certainly your schooling and you being the first with a master's in cannabinoid science, that's beautiful. Being a second lab in the state, Nova Analytic Labs in Portland, Maine, fantastic for adult use. And now tissue sampling. I mean, lots to be proud of, Chris. And listen, Vetted Cannabis and Sanford, Maine, we thank you. We're grateful for the partnership you share with us. And we're even happy to have you here on a Maine Cannabis podcast today.
Yep.
So thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So today we're here with U.S. Marine Corps veteran Christopher Bonin and his dog Zoe. Christopher, we're so delighted to have you, and we're eager to hear your story, your life journey, especially given that you have your hat on with your ribbon. So certainly I want to hear about these beautiful accomplishments, accolades, recognition that you have. And they're born right here on your hat, which is great to see. When we first meet you, you're able to see them. It's striking, the colors. But I'd like to hear just your journey and what those ribbons represent.
All right. So, I joined the Marine Corps in 2005, Marine Corps Infantry. And then 2007, I was stationed in 29 Palms, California with 2-7. And then early 2008, we did a combat deployment to Sangan, Afghanistan. We were pretty much the first unit to kind of kickstart the war in Afghanistan over there.
So you were on the ground troops?
Yes.
Yeah. And walking, patrolling right up front.
Foot patrolling. I was also detached to PSD, which is Personal Security Detachment, with the CO of our company.
Wow.
And then I was also attached to EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal. So I also would help clear IEDs, walk up to IEDs, see if there's actually IEDs in the ground, step on them. Luckily, they didn't go off multiple times. But,
whoa.
Yep.
It sounds scary to me. Tell me, did you witness traumatic injuries and or death?
Yep, multiple deaths.
Wow.
Amputees.
Wow.
Quite a few KIA.
Wow.
For enemy and friendly.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And these ribbons, there's so many colors and stripes. And in short, can you tell us what does it represent?
Yep. So pretty much it represents all my achievements throughout the Marine Corps. And the green ribbon is the Navy Achievement Medal, with the V as a Valor Distinguishing Device. And that was an award given to me during an operation we did in Afghanistan.
Wow.
And then Combat Action Ribbon, and then a couple other unit citations that I received at another unit in Washington, D.C.
Just stunning, Christopher. So. I mean, right away, I just want you to hear the thanks. I'm just one of many in this grateful nation for you making the sacrifices in your personal life to, put service before self. So thank you, Christopher.
You're
now
very
tell
welcome.
Me, now coming back to the States and getting reacclimated, how did it go for you?
For me, I think I was just... I think I was already just pretty detached from things even going into the military. So getting out, it almost felt kind of just second nature in a sense. So I didn't really pay attention to my issues, if anything. But it was more of not a smooth transition, if you will. I was drinking heavily, on medication, trying to just dive back into college.
Mm-hmm. Any substance abuse issues or law, with the law enforcement or? So
luckily I've never had any issues with the law enforcement, but in 2015, I started heavily abusing substances, cocaine and such. And then I was pretty heavily addicted to that. And then I became a user of crystal meth, amphetamines, stuff like that. Things I would have never thought I would have, crossed paths with.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's been a ride for sure.
It sounds harrowing. Now, how did you make it to your abstinence sobriety days of today? Tell us.
Yeah, so I started at first with cannabis, and whenever I would have any type of urge to pick up a pipe or sniff a line or use anything, I would just grab my piece or my joint or whatever, and I would just have a puff or two, and instantly it would really wake me up, and it would calm that urge of wanting to use. And then when I use cannabis, I know for myself, it definitely expands my consciousness and awareness, like other psychedelic medicines I've used, and it really makes me dive in and be like, why would you want to put that poison in your body? It's not medicine. It's just poison and evil, and it takes your soul away.
Yeah.
And cannabis definitely makes me feel more in my body and more alive, and makes me want to do better for myself, and connects me with a higher consciousness and higher power for sure.
Wow. What would you say to a veteran that's maybe struggling today, struggling with self-harm, struggling with substance abuse, just struggling, really debating the use or potential use of cannabis for them? What would you say to that person?
Well, I would say, definitely go into it with an open mind, and, just know like other substances react completely differently in a sense, whereas this, it takes a bit to get used to. I would say it can be a little overwhelming, but I think a lot of the issues is not enough people are educated on it. So a lot of people overdose and take in too much medicine. So it makes them feel very uncomfortable and they don't like it. So then they'll easily just say, that's not for me. So I think it's like any other medication where you need to give it some time, be, slow with it, and it'll really help.
So it pleases me when you say that slow and low dosing is just what I recommend. It's like microdosing. It's really using the minimum amount to bring upon a stability or ease of mind or pain relief or sleep. It's really finding that minimum dose requirement so that you can actually stay in the game, but yet quell the symptoms that you're trying to ease. Christopher, I just think you're an amazing man that's given so much to our country, and we're hoping that some way you continue on this trajectory. It's such a beautiful walk of life that you have now, and I see you're holding your baby Zoe, who loves you tremendously. She's now looking you in the eyes as if she's so happy that you are who you are, and we're just so honored to have you today, Christopher. So
thank you so much.
Thank you,
I'm excited
sir.
to be here.
That's great, and we hope in the future that we can invite you back and hear more about your life journey.
Absolutely,
that'd be fantastic.
I would love to. All my spiritual practices, mindfulness, different healing retreats I've been on. I mean, I really, there's so much medicine within me from my experiences and my life stories. And I really know all the things that I've been doing holistically and with plant medicines, cannabis, and then other psychedelic medicines and such that I know could really help heal the entire world and, expand everyone's consciousness.
It sounds fantastic, Christopher. We have so much to learn from you, and we will certainly have you back.
Thank you so much.
So thank you, Christopher. That's Christopher Bonin, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, here at Maine Cannabis Podcast.
We're often asked, where did the name Vetted come from? Why did we name it Vetted? What does it mean to us? And vetted to us means, careful examination, thoroughly researched. It's the foundation for which we are doing what we're doing. We want you guys to have the confidence in the stuff you're consuming with the practitioner-based recommendations.
So we keep it science-based. We're always striving to show you our credentials, our testing of the product, our growing practices, the research coming from what providers in what year that they're claiming that certain chemicals do what medicinally. We're providing all of that information to you so that in your eyes we have your vote of confidence that you've vetted us. But also veterans. And my mother and I both worked for the Veterans Administration healthcare system for over 40 years combined. Veterans are a population that we hold near and dear to our heart. We believe that, on many occasions, not just the veterans, conventional medicine has failed us. So introducing, veterans specifically to medicinal marijuana, this could really help them. They could benefit from this. Maybe get them off of street weed, tell them that, don't worry about the legal implications. We can provide a med card to them so that they're legal. We can educate them in the science, and we offer them a lifelong discount.
Veterans deserve this. They're the most deserving population that we believe, we should be giving back to them. And we thank them all the time for their service. And ease of access is what we provide by the free med cards. And
science rationale in the foundation of our work. So family owned and operated in Sanford, Maine. We are vetted.
Bye.
So we're excited to introduce New Fame, hip-hop R&B group that's been international, providing inspirational and selfless messaging out to population some 1,600 times, I believe, more than that even. So I wanted you to share with the audience, how did you come to be, and what is your message?
Well, see, you're expecting. We met very organically in New York City through some friends. I'm a big believer in following your heart, and you're there for a reason, so things happen for a reason, and that's kind of how we came together. She was getting off a plane from Cambodia, doing service work over in Southeast Asia, which I'll allow her to get into more, but basically, long story short, we met. She talked some shit about like how I wasn't promoting right, and I should sell my music more because I had these little download cards on tables all over. And I was like, well, I can always make more.
Wow, so a random connection, a meeting, and she
pseudo-random. Pseudo.
But she
through a friend. It was a friend doing it.
But still.
Yeah,
okay.
But definitely
A chance meeting.
Yes.
A chance meeting.
Two ships meeting in the night.
Understood. And then your
passing
message
in the night.
was wowed. She was really trying to bolster you a little further.
Well, she was talking. She was just, she's.
I thought she was great.
And
she's
like,
always
wow.
been supportive, but also she's a very honest person. She was like, here's where you could do better, and here's some critique right off the bat, even though we don't know each other. And that was cool with me.
All right,
so we've been working together ever since.
So beyond just you,
dry.
though, your message out to the audience is one of self-empowerment. Tell us, how did you get there? I mean, how does that message remain constant and part of you, and why do you care? Why is it important?
Well, first of all, I think it's important because things happen every day to people. Life things, very simple things, and then also very dramatic things. And if we don't say how we feel in that moment, we might not have a chance to again. And to me, it's super important, even if someone doesn't like me or thinks I'm whatever they think, that I say what I feel. My mom used to tell me, and several people throughout my life, like, a filter is a good thing. And I'm like, I don't naturally have that, so I don't really see it there being a good thing. I think when you're honest and open, it allows your heart to be free.
Yes.
And then moving forward with that, if you can gain any kind of traction or attention, like her and I already were separately, then when we came together, her weaknesses became something that I took on as a strength, and then vice versa. And she looked after me, I looked after her in the places we needed, and we were both already doing shows and service work before we met, and the self-development came pretty natural. I was always pushing myself, working out way before I met her, and doing sports, and she was doing the same thing, just really looking after her mind and trying to work on eating healthy food. And even if you're only having you're only doing one healthy thing, she was always like, we could do another, we could do another.
Exactly.
And slowly over the last 10 years, we've really built the brand of shows, service, and self-development, and decided that if we were going to be getting attention and people were going to like us, that the only thing that was left to do was make sure that we were constantly giving back that attention or that time or that money or those resources. We believe in tithing. We try to do at least 20% of our income. So if that's to a person, or like we know we put out in the universe and to everybody who knows us, basically, like if you need something, you can reach out and we will do our best to help you, no matter what that means. I mean, we might be able to call in someone else. Maybe we get you a Home Depot card for $200 because that's what's in our Fighting for Futures account, which is our organization. We do all our endeavors through about 90 throughout 9 countries so far.
Wow. So if ever there's a need for this, it's now. The country is so divisive. I'll just speak about our country. It's so divisive, and people are really polarized, and there's a real need, a critical need to be caring about one another and to be introspective. And I see how both of you amazing women have brought just all of that to what you do and how you convey it by way of music, though. You also have used a forum that is quite unique. How did you get there?
I've been doing music since I was very young. It always came very natural to me. And it's funny because when I used to walk around as a kid, I used to just kind of sing stuff. And now I freestyle a lot with her. You know, a lot of what we do is just like on the spot, in the moment, being who we are.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Because no more
Especially
shows
now, yeah.
like we're used to.
Yes.
So
Well, just know that Vetted of Sanford is just so pleased and grateful. Heartfelt thanks go out to you for making the visit with us today. Know that we recognize your messaging to humanity. It's your messaging is so unique and so powerful. And by using the forum of music, know that it resonates in the hearts of many. It's not, you know, you can use a printed word or a said word, but music, a rhythm, a rhyme, a tune, that can be so everlasting. And so we're just one of many that are so proud of you. And
thank you. Me too.
No,
Thank you.
I want you to know that
means a lot.
our
Thank you.
support is just so well behind you, and it's almost allowing us. Vetted is going to take a look at it. How can we start a pay it forward campaign? Right. You know, how can Vetted promote? Hey, everybody, be a little kinder to one another. Hey, everybody, let's care about one another, and do a little more of what you women do all the time. Be introspective. When you speak of her weaknesses are your strengths, and what a beautiful bond you two have. No, it's
my buddy.
It's
My
beyond,
best friend.
Yeah, it's beyond a marital bond or.
It's bigger than us too. I think
Yeah.
the world needs people to sacrifice
Especially
for something
now.
bigger than
Yeah,
ourselves,
yeah.
and I think the future is bright if you focus the right way. So.
and gratitude too.
a lot of gratitude.
The littlest things, you have to be grateful every moment. We're really, really, when I was little, I could have never expected to be playing and doing some of the things I've already done. I could have only dreamed of it based on where I was from. So knowing that each step, I'm super grateful, even though stuff seems quite out of whack at the moment.
You're so humble, the both of you, and just know that you're changing lives. And with that, your mission is likely to change the world's sentiment. So you're really,
you.
fire
Your lips to
starters.
God's ears.
Yep,
Amen.
Well, listen, before we close, I just want you to let the audience know your full name, your full title. How did they get in touch with you? How could they potentially see you in the future?
You want me to do that, or you want to do that?
NewFameMakeChange.com.
Ooh, yes.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah, and also I just wanted to say also
we're
shout out
everywhere.
to Sonia because she was the one who
Sonia Saviors.
let us know about you guys
Another
and
selfless woman who
Well, her
gives
last name
back.
is Saviors.
Yeah.
That's all in a name.
Well, yeah, she really hooked it up with us. But
awesome.
yeah, New Fame Make Change, and also we have our debut album coming out. We have not announced this yet, so it'll probably be after this when the show. So April 20th is our album release party at Nomad Retreat Center. That is in South Paris.
There will be
And
yoga,
We're gonna
people.
we're gonna do 2 showings, and then we're gonna have an overnight party. It's like an Airbnb situation in a big house. It's a retreat center, and the woman there, Lindsay,
All
is
safe,
so
all
amazing.
sound. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
so
awesome. We're really looking forward to it.
Tickets should probably be in our bio on our Instagram by now,
Yay.
but you're seeing this later than where we are now, which hasn't been announced yet.
So New Fame, what's this about Kiwi Drip? Tell us about that.
It's delicious.
It is. Take a sip.
Nutritious.
Basically, we got an amazing instrumental in from our Indiana longtime associate and friend, T. Zank. He's also an
Shout
artist
out
producer.
Zank. Yeah.
And he got this great beat, and we immediately were like, oh my God. And we didn't want to change it at all. It was 2 minutes. We were like, let's do this. We wrote just a verse each to it, and 2 verses each, like a verse and a half each, I suppose. And,
Yeah, it's 2 16s,
yeah,
and then
2
we
16?
split a 16.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we don't have any hook. There's really no premise behind it. It was literally
There's no
let's
big
just
vision,
have fun.
no. Yeah.
Cure Cannabis is incredible. They're in Auburn. They've been sponsoring all of our shows since we've met them, and they decided that they would allow us. I saw they had this beautiful van that said,
Old Volkswagen.
yeah, like go the one that you see in the video, and it basically says work hard, play harder. And I was immediately attracted to it, so I was like, maybe we can just do this. So I wrote out a small treatment, and then I talked to Be Positive, which is our friend Nate. Mixed, mastered, recorded it as usual. He always takes us. Maven Made Agency, and then we just went there. We shot it in one day. We had a really great crew of people that had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and
dancers came out.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
Even, I will say this, there's this weird Batman guy that drives around, I guess, and he showed up. It was really cool. A lot of characters came through.
It
was
really
fun.
did. You don't see him in the video because it was
you
not
don't.
while we were shooting.
No,
but
he didn't come during the shooting time, but he came before.
But Cure Cannabis definitely facilitated that and made it so that we could see a vision that we saw just literally
It's a
by
great
driving
location.
down the road.
Yeah.
And
It's a kick-ass video, and for anyone that hasn't
Thank
seen
you.
it, really take a look. New
Check it
thing.
out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. Kiwi Drip.
Kiwi Drip.
I ain't Kanye 2 Chains, but I know my way around her birthday. Hey, I know this girl Mary J. She got the bomb veggie buffet. I've been around, yeah, I've been around. Ay, I've been up, yeah, I've been down. Ay, I was a jester, yeah, a real clown. Ay, I keep it clever as a fox now. I've been searching for the truth, baby. I done went and got a clue, baby. It comes down to what you do, baby. Kiwi Drip, go ahead and take a sip. There's something in the water. 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 I make moves like cloud on a snow day. Do anything I wanna, call it a payday. I don't like boxes, like to soar like rockets. My time precious like diamonds. Can you afford it? Cause I'm all up in my head again, doing what they said I can't. Type to go without a plan. Combat hand in hand. Nah, I don't do scared, but I really do care. I drive 1,000 miles just to see your hands in the air. I'm the honey, she the bee. I'm the root, she the tree. Are you hearing what I mean? We a pair, we a team. Left my city for a dream. Always aimed really big. Even if you miss your mark, it's alright, it's okay. Something like shooting for the moon, landing the stars, that type of thing. Unwavering, got a sauce you could savor in. Now my time costs just a few more presidents. Now I use my words with just a little more intelligence. Asking all the questions, especially if I think you hiding things. Used to feel my time just to feel. Now I use that pain, gotta learn to heal. Roots deep like white oak, stoked just to love and smoke. Choose this, I choose risk. Dreams big like make a wish.
Thanks again to New Fame for their interview and that truly awesome video, Kiwi Drip. Yeah. You're definitely going to be hearing a lot more about them in 2021. If you're involved in any aspect of the cannabis industry here in Maine or even another state and feel you have something to contribute to this podcast, we encourage you to get in touch with us.
For sure. Just send us an email to us at hello@vettedmaine.com. That's hello@vettedmaine.com. We want to hear from you.
We'll be back soon with another podcast as we continue to explore our amazing industry that's becoming more and more mainstream every day.
And as always, Maine leads the way. And more people are learning the medicinal effects of cannabis. It's awesome.
We'll be back soon.
See you next time.